Welcome to Life Mastery Radio with Todd Allen and Jackie Bailey, the show that dives into the science of higher consciousness with inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. Join Todd, Jackie, and their guests of leading authors, speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific. Learn to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. It's all right here with stories and messages to support your well-being and most evocative dreams. Now, here's your hosts, Todd and Jackie.
Hey, it's another groovy day, and most of you already know, but I'm going to tell you anyway. That's because it's Life Mastery Radio Day. Yay! And it's groovy because every morning when I get up, before my feet hit the ground, I decide it's going to be a groovy day, and guess what? The day turns out to be pretty groovy. Something might happen. Something might change, but I can always just think back. I started out pretty groovy. I can make this groovy too. And it works every time. You just try it. You like it. It's also groovy because I get to hang out with my good friend, Jackie Bailey. Jackie and I were just talking. We have a 5-year anniversary coming up, Jackie. Oh, my goodness.
Well, yeah, we do. It's actually, I started with you in 2018. Now that it's 2024, it's going to be 6 years.
Well, we're in our 6th year.
Right. So we're going forward here.
That is, where did the time go?
We've both been crazy busy.
And you've grown so much. You do so much with the kids, and oh my gosh, I can hardly keep track of what you're doing next, where you are in the world. So give us an update. Where are things with the Speak Feed Lead project and Jackie Bailey Speaks?
2024 is going to be our best yet. We've got lots of plans. We're working on a trip to Tanzania, Africa, where we're going to be working with some school kids there who want us, and they want us to help them with their messages and share their voices. So we're hoping we can put some fundraisers together to make that happen. Because we want to take several coaches with us, a camera crew, and of course some interpreters. And I'm thinking I might even need a bodyguard.
I'm a United States Marine. I can do that.
Yeah. And
I'll do it for free.
Moving forward, I'm actually working a lot more with adults now as well. Waiting for my TED Talk to be published. Oh my goodness, it has. I have no idea that it would take more than 7 months now to have it published.
Yeah, and that was in July, wasn't it?
It was in July, but I did find out that they were asking more questions about me, as if they were vetting me. They were asking for my college transcripts and things like that. So I'm thinking positive. I'm thinking that's a good sign that maybe they're going to elevate me to a TED Talk rather than a TEDx talk. Maybe. I'm just thinking positively. But anyway, waiting any day for that to happen. There is a big difference.
TED Talks are the big time.
You have to be invited to do that. You don't just get to be on there. You have to be invited. And then the TEDx, those are individually organized events. Some of the rules are similar or the same, but it's a whole different ball game. It's like Nike and Adidas. They're just kind of the same purpose, but really different companies. You
go, girl. I see it. I can see it. I've got my ICU2 TV set tuned in, and I see you on the TED Talk stage. I do see it. I see it.
We'll see what happens, but anyway, we've got lots more adults coming at us saying, I want to give a TED Talk, and we're working with a 10-year-old girl right now who wants to give a TED Talk. So lots of things happening. We're having fun.
Yeah, if you have a speaking gig coming up or a big presentation and you would like some coaching, Jackie Bailey Speaks is the person to talk to, because she'll get you through it, and she'll get you speaking from the heart, and it will just flow right through you, and by the time you're done, you won't even know what it was that you said, but you'll think into that.
Yeah, I just actually coached a speaker who spoke last week on a TEDx stage, and she had just an amazing message to give about rhinoceroses, of all things. Not that I knew much about rhinoceroses, but I knew how to help her get her message out there in a powerful way. So she rocked the stage. totally.
That is so cool. Well,
Well, how are you doing, my friend? You've been through some trauma the last couple months, so and we've
trauma or
missed
challenge?
you.
I don't know that I would give it energy of a trauma. I would say
Okay.
challenge. Yeah, I got through it, and my Christmas wish came true. I ate 3 square meals on Christmas Day.
Yay.
The Friday before, my goal was to have a piece of pizza, and I accomplished that. And then I think on that Saturday night, I had a steak and salad. And then
Wow.
Christmas Day, I had 3 square meals and breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it was fabulous. Now, the tasting part is still a little, but you know what? Putting
Yeah.
stuff in my stomach through my mouth, I have a new appreciation of food.
Yes, I bet. I was just going to say that we take so for granted the simple pleasure of eating and smelling and tasting. And
Oh yeah,
so
it totally
you must
woke
have
me
a
up.
newfound appreciation for that
Yeah,
kind of
because
thing.
I think for a long time I was just a meat and potatoes guy, right?
Yeah.
I didn't think I had a fancy palate, and I just ate food and ate stuff that was in front of me, and
Yeah.
now, oh my gosh, when you can't eat and you're seeing TV commercials of food, and oh, it's just the cravings were unreal. I mean, I'd wake up in the middle of the night dreaming about cheeseburgers.
Oh my
Nuts.
gosh. There's the title of your next book, Dreaming About Cheeseburgers.
Oof. I know you prompted me to record all that stuff, and right now it's just like I don't even want to give energy to a nightmare. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's,
Yeah.
you know what? It's in the rear view mirror now.
Have you found the gift? Have you found the gift yet?
Oh, I think the biggest gift was appreciation for food, and I got a lot of support from my family, and better connections there, and everybody was very helpful. You were helpful. Everybody was encouraging me, and yeah, I think there was a lot of gifts that came my way, and some eye-opening experiences of what people go through,
Yeah.
and these kinds of things happen to them. And we've had many on the show um that have gone through different stages of cancer and different treatments, or loved ones, or and I think that maybe, Jackie, is the biggest gift, is being on this side of that fence now, and having
Yeah.
a bigger appreciation, more compassion, more love for that person in what they endured, because man, it's intense. It's a big deal.
Time to craft that speech.
But like I said, it's in the rearview mirror. 2023 is gone, and I'm well
Yes.
on my way. And this is the first show of 2024.
Woohoo!
Woo-hoo. Happy New Year. We want
Yeah,
to
Happy New
welcome
Year.
everybody coming back. And please, please, please tell a friend about the show. Tell a friend about this really cool show with Todd and Jackie. They have some really cool guests and some great topics. And man, they really get into the weeds. Well, do I want to say get into the weeds? Anyway, they really dive into it. And, I think the biggest thing Life Mastery Radio does for people is it provides people great thoughts and ideas for them to use on their very own life mastery journey. That's the whole purpose of the show. That's why we're here, and that's why we bring you great guests. So stand by. We've got a really cool guest coming up. But first, I want to remind everybody that today's show page is at www.lifemasteryradio.com. You can go there. Any links that we talk about will be posted there. We're live on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel. Oh my gosh, I bet there's over 300 shows now, Jackie.
There's got to be more than that. Yeah.
All of our shows go up into YouTube. So please, please, please tell a friend and let us know what you think. And if you come across somebody that's really cool that you think would be a great guest for the show, let us know. Drop us a line, and we would love to have them and share their great thoughts and ideas with other people too. Let's see. There's a newsletter on the website. Jackie creates a newsletter once a week, and you can sign up for that. That's all we use that email for. And you get a newsletter about who's been on the show, who's coming on the show. And of course, Jackie writes a blog post every week about the show that we just did. So all things life mastery in that newsletter. I got a lot of great comments over the holidays about your newsletter, Jackie. I forgot to tell you that.
Oh, good.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah. People were saying, "Oh, what a lovely thought. Thank you so much." You sent out a couple of them, one for Thanksgiving and one for Christmas, I think. So that was really cool. I think that's the first year we've done it that way, and nice job. Kudos.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that had an effect.
Yeah. Okay, you ready for the show? I gotta get a glass of water.
Ready.
My mouth gets really dry.
Yes. Keep drinking. Keep it moist.
Our guest today is Scott Stabile. And Scott is a passionate love advocate who believes there is no force more powerful than love to create real connection and healing in our world. Amen to that. I think we need more of Scott. Scott, you headed to the White House? Scott guides transformational breathwork journeys and leads personal empowerment workshops internationally. His inspirational posts have attracted a huge and devoted social media following, including more than 350,000 Facebook fans. He recently wrote his second book, and it's as simple as it can get. Enough as you are. Scott, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you today?
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be with you both, and I'm feeling good.
We're delighted and excited to have you. You're coming all the way from cold Detroit.
Yes. Indeed.
But you still got a big smile on your face, so you must be nice, cozy, and warm in your abode.
I am actually. Yeah, we do have heat here, so that's helpful.
Good.
So
Detroit
tell us
has
a little
heat.
bit. You have, I don't know how far you want to get into it, but you kind of have a tragic background. You don't have to get into a whole lot of the details, but maybe clue us in, because I'm of the belief that that is what makes you who you are today.
Yeah.
Well, I think everything we live makes us who we are today.
Good
You
point.
know, like I wouldn't be who I am had I not lived everything I lived, just like you two. And the tragedy you're referring to, or that primarily was losing my parents at 14 years old to murder. You know, they were shot to death in Detroit. And obviously that was a very traumatic and excruciating thing to go through. And I don't want to in any way belittle what I've gone through, but I really do believe that if you're a human adult, you have trauma that you've experienced in your life, even if you had the most conventional, charmed upbringing.
Protected.
Protected. It comes with a host, in part because, in my belief, we are conditioned from a very young age to start acting specific ways, believing certain things, loving in specific ways. And if you don't fall in line with that conditioning, and nobody falls in line with that conditioning in an authentic way, there's going to be a rift that starts to get created within all of us, where we have to balance the, freedom versus conditioning. And for me, that journey, as much as anything I've gone through, just coming in alignment with what feels most true for me and honoring that voice versus a host of voices that we're all receiving telling me what I should think and what I should do and how I should be. That for me creates a lot of trauma in our humanity. And so the journey of life, along with whatever other circumstances we've had, like losing my parents in that tragic way, has for me been about inching closer and closer to a lived experience that feels more aligned with love, more aligned with spirit, and more aligned with my authentic self.
Right. Well, you are an advocate for love. I get that, and your first book was Big Love, right? Or
Big Love, The Power of Living with a Wide Open Heart. Yeah.
So when did the love bug bite you? I mean, has this always been a part of you being an advocate for love, or did
It
it sneak
really,
up on you?
when I look back on young me, like little Scotty, I was a very compassionate, heart-centered kid. So that was a part of me for sure. But I would say in my 20s, I really started to recognize love is an extraordinarily powerful force for creating healing, not
Mm.
only in myself, but in the world in general. So I would say it was then I was living in San Francisco at the time. I actually got involved with a spiritual cult, and one of the great gifts of that cult was a primary, the focus was on enlightenment, but within the context of enlightenment, there was a huge focus on love. And so in my 20s, I really started to give a lot of energy just to considering what does life look like when I center in love? How does my life change when I continuously come back to the energy of love in my thoughts, my words, my actions? How does my effect on people change? How do I influence people from that place? And for me, it's only a pure positive energy. That's all love ever is. So I know that I'm serving myself. I know that I'm serving others. I know that I'm serving our planet and the world when I am connecting with that energy. And also I want to be really, really clear. I'm not always connecting with that energy. I
Well,
fall. Yeah.
that's what came to my mind, because I just want to reiterate too that it's a practice, right?
It's
We
a
are
practice.
human.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I fall off the love train often, you know, and because I am committed to the practice of love, I'm able to nudge myself back on the love train a heck of a
Quickly.
lot faster than I
Right.
ever was, and so
Mm.
I feel like I can come back into alignment more quickly now. And for me, that's all practice. Self-love, I write and talk a lot about self-love, and self-love I see as a skill. And like any skill, the more you practice at it, the better you become. In my experience, it's the only possibility. What we give our energy to, our intention to, our commitment to, we get better at.
Yeah.
And so for people out there who may be listening or watching and thinking, I've never been able to love myself. Okay. And here we are right now in this moment. And it is always what we do from this moment on that's going to matter the most in our lives. So if you are willing to love yourself, that is step one. Even that willingness is an act of self-love, right? It's never too
Mm.
late, essentially, is what I'm saying, to change our relationship with ourselves and
Right.
to deepen it and strengthen it.
Right.
Well, I'm so impressed that at such an early age, did you say 14 when your
Yeah.
parents were murdered?
Yep.
That you found a way to accept yourself, because those were I'm guessing, the people that were most likely, loved you the most in life, that you got those feelings from, and now they're gone. Who were your biggest influences after your parents were murdered? Did you go to live with grandparents, or did you have siblings? What
Yeah.
happened from there that helped you to feel that self-love so early on?
Well, I don't think I felt it that so
Mm,
early on. I mean, I've come into the
okay.
self-love part. I think I was a loving person, but I certainly went through many, many years with lots of self-loathing, I think, as we all do. And I'm
Mm,
also gay, so coming to terms with sexuality was a journey with tons of shame. I did, and I also had a really uh, not a great relationship with my father. Like while he was
mm,
alive, I hated my father and felt completely
mm.
unseen and unloved by him. So that is a wound that carried on even after their death. But to answer your question, I went and lived with my eldest sister and her husband and my nephew. I'm the youngest of seven kids, so that
Oh,
was
wow.
extraordinary support at the time to be a part of a big family and to be
Yeah.
going through that with others instead of
So there
just
were
on my
other
own.
adults that could take care of you and make
Yeah,
sure
I
that you
was,
had.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Which made it, I
Wow.
mean, I, I was going to say it made it easier. I don't know that it, I don't know that it made it easier. Well, it
Yeah.
probably made it easier than if I were just on my own, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
to have
or
a
a
semblance of a
ward of the
family
state,
structure.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
But that had to affect you. I mean,
Oh, of
um,
course.
I'm certain that you were filled with self-doubt or just insecurities. I mean, there might be some young people listening today who've had similar situations. So if you're willing to talk a little bit about that, it'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, for me at the time, it was just at that age, losing your parents and changing high schools, and it's what I did, and I can't honestly say that I did this consciously. I buried it. I put it
Mm,
away. Honestly, it was locked away. And I think at that time I was a really good student up until that point, and I feel like I could have gone any number of directions, but I could either have stayed on the track I was on or have said screw it to all of it and gone down a very different track. And what I ended up doing was putting it away. I was a straight A student, very popular kid in my new high school, acted like nothing was happening in my life, and then once a year would have a really good cry. And it was
mm,
like clockwork, and it was only once a year. And then and then I would put it away again. And it wasn't until and I don't credit myself for that. It was like something in me knew that was the way that I could be with this
mm.
trauma right now. That's the way I could handle this experience. And in some ways, my siblings all did the same thing. It was really wild. Like none of us were talking about it with each other, even. We were all kind of internally processing it on our own and moving on with our lives. And then in my 20s, I I mean, I had somewhat of a breakdown. That 1 year cry, it wasn't stopping. So it was going
Mm.
on for days. I had moved to San Francisco. I was in my bedroom crying for, I think on day 3 of crying pretty much nonstop, feeling like I had completely lost it. I opened up the yellow pages and I opened to the psychotherapy, however it was titled, psychoanalyst, whatever, and closed my eyes and pointed my finger at a name, literally, and called that woman. And at the time, I could afford 6 sessions with her for 6 weeks. And I got grounded again. And I think what that showed me in that moment, I think we fear our pain, we fear our sadness. I know for myself, there was some part of me I think that believed if I opened myself up to the pain of this experience, the anger and the sadness I felt around it, that I wouldn't be able to survive it.
Mm.
And by opening myself up to it in those 6 sessions of therapy, I saw that, I actually can cry about this more than once a year. I can be angry about it. I can, curse at God about it. I can do all of these things that I didn't really allow myself to do.
Right.
And I survived it. Like I'm still okay. It's painful. And yet, when we allow our feelings to move through us, they actually do move through us, which doesn't mean they don't disappear and return and all of that.
Right.
Yes. But so often we're giving so much energy to running, to running from what it is we're
Mhm.
feeling. And that takes a lot of energy and can be very
Yeah.
exhausting.
Or
And
hiding,
just
right?
or
Hiding from it.
hiding, numbing, escaping. And by the and all of that's fine. We're human. This is a part of any choices we're making. I really see as a part of the human experience, and the work I am most interested in doing now is reminding people that no matter what you're choosing, you are worthy. No matter what you're choosing, you are enough. No matter what you're choosing, you can show up for yourself with love and grace if you are committed to doing so. And that choice alone creates for us a much more peaceful experience of this
Mm.
lifetime. That's my experience of it.
Well, I
So
like that you say choice. That's a big deal. So go ahead, Todd. Sorry.
I was just going to say, so knowing what you know, if there's somebody out there that's experiencing that and they're kind of younger, what would be your message to them for them to start doing rather than hide or put it off? What should they start doing and so they don't have to experience that grief, that outpouring of grief later on in life?
Well, I don't want to tell anyone they might not experience that out, but grief is is its
part of
own
human.
roller
Right, right, right.
coaster, you know what I mean? But what I feel is, especially in this day and age with the access we have via the internet, one thing I would say to everyone is just to know you're not alone in what you're experiencing. I think
That's
it
a
can be
big deal.
really important to understand that, and what our shame wants to tell us, or our embarrassment, or our depression, or whatever it is we're going through, the communication so often from those places is that we are the only one going through what we're going through, and that feels extraordinarily lonely and can feel extraordinarily hopeless. And even though your circumstances might be specific to you, I can assure you that there are any number of people who can relate to what you're going through.
That's a
And it,
great message.
and following that up with an action to take is to find those people.
Yeah.
Right, there are support groups, there are online communities, there are forums, there are meetups, there are a host of ways. If you just Google, dead parents, like I'm taking my, you know what I mean, lost
Mm-hmm.
my parents, and get more specific if you want, like lost parents to murder, you're going to find others out there who are writing about it, sharing about it, gathering about it, and being in community around these things is so extraordinarily helpful.
Yeah, that's a big deal, Scott. I'm glad you said that. That is such a great message, because that is a big part of the human condition, is convincing ourselves and rationalizing that I'm the only one this has ever happened to, and it's just this
Yeah.
is this is this is a single thing for me, and I don't know how to express it, but it's just, this is only happening to me, and that is not the case at all.
Yeah, that's one of the most insidious communications of shame in
Mm.
general, because our shame wants us to believe that we are flawed in a very specific way, and that flaw is inherent to who we are.
Right?
It's not predicated on our actions. It's within us. And that's what I've come to see and believe and know in myself, is that whenever communications from my mind are suggesting that I am in any way unworthy and not enough or inherently flawed, it is a lie. It's a lie of the mind that is rooted in past conditioning. It's rooted in fear. It's rooted in insecurity. It's rooted in the expectations of the outside world, but it has no bearing in truth. And the more we can get in the habit of challenging our minds, and not from a place of war. That's the other thing I want to be really clear about that has
Right.
served me beautifully, is I don't go to war with aspects of myself anymore. Even the parts of myself I like the least, I do not go to war with them. I am practiced now at inviting all parts of who I am to the table, and challenging when my mind is communicating to me lies, and all of our minds do it. When my mind is abusing me and telling me I'm stupid and a failure and whatever my mind wants to say, I just don't accept it the way I used to accept it. I one, I don't even give it that much energy or attention anymore. I'm in the practice of looking at the insanity of my mind with curiosity and with a nonchalance that I have now that I've never had, that has offered me so much more peace. It's like, whoa, look at my mind now. That's a trip.
Yeah.
Human minds are insane. And what happens when we can bring to these self-abusive thoughts this sense of nonchalance and disbelief, instead of feeling like we have to believe everything we're thinking, when most of what or a lot of what we're thinking is completely untrue about ourselves and other people.
Yeah,
I
Scott,
was
thank you
taught.
so much for what you're doing. I was just going to say that 30 years ago or so, people didn't hear stories that were connected to their experiences unless we heard them from celebrities. A
Yeah.
celebrity who got out of rehab, and then they would talk about da 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 da, whatever. But now I'm so grateful for people like you and so many others that are willing to share their stories, to show their vulnerability, be willing to admit their mistakes, but then also to say, I try now every morning to do this and this and this differently. No one's an expert at it. We're all practicing it. But
Right.
so I'm grateful for people like you who continue to put their stories out there, so that we all have the possibility of connecting with somebody. Someone that might connect with you may not connect with me, or maybe not connect with Todd,
Right.
and vice versa. So that's why our own stories are so important to get out there. I was going to ask you though about your title, Love Activist.
Yes.
What does it mean to be a love activist, and what does a love activist do?
You know, honestly, you two, when people would ask me what I do, I was the type of person I always stuttered through it because it's like I'm piecing my career together like willy-nilly. I give workshops sometimes, I write sometimes. It's like, so I could never answer that. And then a friend referred to me as a love activist. And when she said it, I'm like, that actually does resonate because for me, I
Mm,
feel like what I'm doing more than anything is making a lot of noise for the power of love in our lives and the power of self-love in our lives. And when I'm in that alignment and committed to that, I feel most at home in my being. So
mm,
that's really all it means to me is that I'm someone who's going to be championing love. And again and again and again. And I find in any time I'm speaking, anytime I'm writing, it always eventually, usually initially and eventually circles back to love and what happens when we really commit to being with and playing with the energy of love. You know,
mm,
we all, I suspect, not just the three of us, but anyone listening and beyond, are hugely frustrated and disheartened by much of what we see in the world. And perhaps predominantly in this country, the ways in which we are not communicating with each other, the ways in which we're shaming each other and silencing each other and dehumanizing each other. And if you want to live in a world that reflects something differently, more peace, more compassion, more kindness, the greatest influence you're going to have is over how you're choosing to show up within the context of the reality you're creating. So how are you living is an example of what you want to be seeing. There are many extraordinary change agents on this planet. Anger is a beautiful emotion. I believe in feeling our anger and expressing our anger. And if all we're doing is raging, we will create change, but we cannot create healing. Anger alone cannot do it. You have to support it with love, or healing doesn't get created. We just end up changing into something else that is entirely toxic, right? Like
mhm.
love is the force that invites something that reflects ultimately a more healed expression of what it is we're seeking to create.
Yeah, even
Wow.
even the treatment of others too, right, Scott? I
Yeah,
mean,
God.
we are the biggest person that we should be loving, but we need to put a stopgap in there somehow when we lurch or jump into the judgment of others or how we may treat somebody else, because that's not really who we are deep down inside.
Yeah, and look, I talk a lot about self-love and teach a lot about self-love, but I really want to make something clear. Love always transcends self. If you're giving energy to loving yourself, you are naturally and automatically giving energy to everything else in your life, which
Good
is to
point.
say it influences how you see others, how you treat others. It influences how you see the planet, how you treat the planet. It influences everything. That's why for me love is so important because it is the foundation upon which we engage with
Mhm.
everyone and everything. I can promise you, anyone out there who is shaming other people, dehumanizing other people, even if they're doing it in this righteous way, even if they're dehumanizing dehumanizers, it's like that is not a person who is in a truly loving relationship with themselves because it is never the invitation of the heart. When I am
Yeah.
connecting to my heart's always the same mandate. It's just love.
Good point.
Period.
Yeah.
I was taught I was taught if I wanted to give you a banana, but yet I didn't have a banana, how can I give you a banana? Right? I
That's
was also taught if we talk to our best friends the way that we talk to ourselves, we probably wouldn't have a best friend anymore.
meaning, or
Yeah.
wouldn't need one? What do you mean?
No, if we talk to our best
Oh, the
friends,
way yeah, you're
talk
right.
to
We wouldn't have any
ourselves, we
friends.
wouldn't have any
Yes.
friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really an important angle to take. And I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, but in school districts around our country and perhaps even around the world now, they're trying to regulate kids to be tolerant of other kids. And that's not a bad thing, but I'm not sure that it's going to have the effect that they're looking for until we teach kids to love themselves.
Yeah.
Because as you say, when that self-love is strong and constant, it automatically goes to the outside of everything and the way that you treat other people. And so I think, the idea of it is a good idea. Of course, we all need to be loving and kind and tolerant to all different kinds of people, whether we agree with what their position is on things or whatever. But I don't think making it mandated is the answer, because I think we need to figure out how to help people feel more self-love first, and then we won't have to mandate anything. It will just be automatic. Am I off my rocker, Scott, or do you feel that way too?
Well, I wish self-love were mandated. I wish that was a class in school from kindergarten up, because it would have a profound impact on what happens in schools. As far as what you're saying, look, I do believe that if bullying is happening in schools and an intolerance that is creating harm in children, that has to be addressed and taken care of. But to your point, forcing, even in adults as well, forcing people to be tolerant is not going to make them tolerant, or it's not going to make them loving. Put it that way. Tolerance and love are not the same thing. I want more than tolerance in my life. I'm not interested in just tolerating people. I'm interested in actually loving people, even people I don't like, even people whose ideas and actions I may find abhorrent. I know that within me, it is, if I'm in my humanity, I am able to connect to their humanity and at least not lose touch with that, at least invite compassion. And by the way, I don't feel the need to engage with people that I find are disrespectful, abusive, unkind in any way. I just know that I always feel better when I'm able to rest in my heart and generate love, even if it's from afar, even if they're not in my life. And that's ultimately the thing for me, is I want to feel good. And I believe as innate within us as our desire to love and to give love and receive love, we human beings have an innate desire to move toward good feeling sensations. We're never going to stop wanting to feel good. And of course, life isn't all about feeling good. At the same time, it's very worthwhile to consider the actions we can take that create more good feeling opportunities. And whenever I'm centered in my heart, I feel good. If hatred felt good, I would be a hate activist, I can assure you.
That's the message Jesus taught us, right? I mean, that goes way back in what he taught and what he tried to portray to people to live their lives.
I mean, all teachers, all religions, I think foundationally, it always comes back to love.
Right.
And
well,
yet we
and
human beings,
we're lost.
Go ahead, please, Jackie.
I was just going to say, your book has a large element of forgiveness in it, which I think takes a certain kind of love to be able to forgive someone who's hurt you or been intolerant of you or things like that. So how did you find the end of your journey toward forgiving those that you needed to?
Look, forgiveness is tough. It's not something you just call out of the air and then suddenly you've forgiven someone. I see forgiveness as love, as an act of love. So for me, I don't view things through the lens of being unforgivable. And one of my most powerful experiences around it was with the man who murdered my parents. And recognizing that when I was thinking about him, it was with hatred, it was with vengeful thoughts, it was imagining him dying in horrible ways. It was all of this really heavy, dark, toxic stuff. And in my 20s, as I was opening up to love, I would still think about him and feel this heaviness and this hatred. And I thought, I don't want to live with this anymore. I don't know how I'm going to find my way to forgiveness, but I at least want to explore that possibility. And what I started to do is I started to empathize with him without knowing his whole experience or much of his life. What I felt like I could confidently say was that this is a human being who feels very lost, very angry, very unloved, unseen, confused. And I felt all those things too. Each one of
Mm-hmm.
those things I could relate to deeply. And even the violence, which I thought, well, I could never relate to this violence. I'd been imagining him die gruesome deaths. I could relate to
Yeah.
didn't act in that way, but my mind sure conjured up a whole host of violent scenarios. So even that was something I could connect to him with. And then suddenly he was more than just a murderer. He was another human being with all these very real human struggles. And I found I continued to open myself up to empathy. And then suddenly what I noticed was I felt love for this man. He
Mm.
was another brother on this planet. And then I realized I have forgiven this man. I am not my chest isn't tight. I'm not feeling hatred. It felt like that toxic tether that I'd been tied to him to. It just was gone. And that is
Mm.
the great gift of forgiveness.
Oh yeah.
It's not about condoning anything. It's not even
Right.
meaning you want the person in your life anymore necessarily, maybe so, maybe not, but it untethers you in that toxic way from the person. And what that created for me was just a world of peace.
Mm.
And that was a huge gift. And so for me, I believe in forgiveness. I will always work to find my way to forgiveness, and I find that empathy is one of the most direct paths to it.
Yeah, so beautifully said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
I have to assume that they caught the guy and you could put a face to it or not.
Yeah, he's been in prison for life. This was in 85 and he's still in prison
Mm.
Mm.
for
Wow.
he killed my parents a lot and one other person as well.
Wow.
Was it just random, or was he targeting your parents for some reason?
I mean, they owned a store in Detroit, and
Mm.
it was a kind of a break-in early in the morning as
Oh.
they were there before the store opened.
Mm. Wow.
So, but again,
Very tragic.
I really want to maybe just emphasize that when I think of him, uh, it is with love in my heart. I am not carrying
Right.
it's not that I can't still connect to the pain of losing my parents. I'm not saying that, or the sadness of losing my parents. I simply do not connect to him through that lens anymore. He did an awful thing. He made an awful choice, and we human beings make awful choices. And in generally, there's that saying, hurt people hurt people. And I believe that to be true
Mm-hmm.
100% of the time. Like, people are not murdering each other willy-nilly because they're living a good life and are connecting to themselves in a loving way. Like, that isn't the nature of hurting others. It's because, and I'm not condoning the action, but I think there's great value in empathizing with, well, what might their story have been prior to
Right.
this moment where they made a choice that was so awful. There's always a story there.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be your message? We seem to be experiencing these high rates of people doing things that go against the grain of society, and you can tell. I mean, extending love to them and understanding where they come from and their circumstances, why they're doing it. How do we get in between that? I mean, obviously self-love, teaching them self-love would be the solution. Where is that door?
To help the people who are doing the
Right, right,
things.
right.
Oh man, I mean, our world is, look, I'm someone who I like to hold, I like to keep an expansive view of the world. Like, I am able
And
to,
humanity.
and
Humanity is,
humanity, that's what I'm speaking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
I see the beauty. There's a lot of beauty here. There's a lot of kindness. There's a lot of compassion. I'm going to focus right now on how unbelievably insane and violent and that our society is and humanity is. There's a lot that is broken. So it's hard for me to answer your question other than to say
That was a big
the
question. My apologies.
the most oh no, the most influence we will ever have is over ourselves. So the more of us who are taking ownership of how we're choosing to show up and aligning that with compassion and love, I believe ultimately that is the most important thing we can do, because until we get to a tipping point where more and more and more of us are unwilling to participate in a violent reality, and I'm speaking to those of us who are choosing to go online and with good intention shame other people who are not showing up in the way that we're showing up, or who are not making the same choices that we're making. Until all of this stops, how do we build the society that we want to see? How do we foster the type of people that you're speaking to? How do we heal the people who are going out there and hurting others because of the hurt that they're experiencing? I don't see a path forward until more of us are willing to just take responsibility for our own place within the story.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is love is infectious, and the more self-love we have and express that it infects the rest of society. I think that is what you're saying.
Yeah, in the same way, yes, and that's the beautiful side, because we know that hatred is infectious, right? We know that gossip is infectious. We know all these things, but love also is. So let's not and it's also more powerful than any of the other things. And if you only check in with yourself and your lived experience, if you only get honest about how you feel, not just the two of you, I mean you in general, how you feel when you are giving love and receiving love, you will know it to be the most beautiful experience you can have as a human being. So let's all quit creating justifications for being hateful. There are no good justifications. There are no good justifications for shaming ourselves or others. There are no good justifications for dehumanizing, even the dehumanizers, in my opinion. It's like, I feel like even in our activism, be in your convictions, march for what you want to march for, make phone calls, do everything you feel called to do, and if possible, don't lose touch with the humanity in the quote unquote other side, because all that's ultimately going to do is create more war and division.
Yeah,
You
that's
hear that?
so great.
Don't block freeways when people are trying to get to the airport.
That's right, or to the hospital.
Or to the hospital.
Well, I don't even. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, finish up.
Well, I was going to
finish
say,
up.
look at I'm a fan of I'm a fan of peaceful civil disobedience. I don't mind freeways being blocked to the airport. I understand. Like, it's like, not that I'm saying go out and block it. I'm just saying, like, I'm open to many different expressions of activism. What I'm not open to is the expression of hatred and shame through the activism. That's what you lose me completely. If your activism, if love is not foundational, then I'm not interested in it.
Right. And that cannot be accompanied with judgment, right? Because that's a big part of being able to find the common ground with the opposing side and not put your own judgment on who or what kind of type of people they are. They're human, just like we are. We don't have to agree with them. We can disagree, but we can disagree with love and respect, right? And not get angry or violent.
Right. I mean, look, getting angry is natural. We all get angry, and we also all judge. I don't have any problem with any of this. It's like, how am I showing up within it? Like, if you knew the judgments that go on through my head of our politicians and our governments and other governments, there's a lot of judgment there, and that is natural. It's more about, and if someone's in front of me saying, I think it's okay to kill people, like, that is not okay for me. I can't just be peaceful in my assessment of other people's opinions all the time. But what I can do again is hold my heart open to being compassionate as I clearly express myself within the construct of whatever's being discussed and decided.
Mm.
And it's not being done. Very few people are able to do this now. You know,
Yeah.
I am politically steer extremely progressive in terms of what my convictions are, and I feel wholly disassociated from a lot of what I see in the progressive movement, because of the way the communication is happening. I
Mhm.
don't, and it's the same on the right side of things. Only my convictions tend not to align on that side, but I also don't. I'm not aligning with the communication. It's all feels. It's so violent. It's so shaming. It's so
Yeah.
dehumanizing. It doesn't get us anywhere.
So
You
does your
you
book contain tips to help us to get through those things? What's in your book that was helpful for us?
Yeah, I mean, enough. I would love to do something with you too, if you want to, because the book it's all like short prose, which means you can really turn to any page and read that page and meditate on that thought,
Mm.
if you so choose. It's not something you have to read from beginning to end. And the book focuses a lot on self-acceptance and self-love, which again naturally translates to acceptance and love of others. So
Mm.
it's really about getting honest with ourselves, taking responsibility for our hypocrisies, understanding that it is possible to really get honest with who you are and still show up with love and grace for yourself, even the parts that you
Mm.
don't like, even the
Yeah.
parts that are frustrating. But what I was going to recommend is if you each wanted to just, between the number 2 and 219, if you have a page that's coming to you, I'll just read you what that page is. They're
go for
short
it,
Then,
Jack.
bits.
Yeah, we only have about 4 minutes left, but we'll make time for this. Jackie, pick a
Okay.
number.
8.
Okay, number 8. There are 3 sections in the book. This is the section called You. So
Mm.
number 8, you never know when you'll be the person who ignites an awakening in someone else. That's why it's so important to weave kindness and love into our interactions as often as possible. It may be in the advice you give your dearest friend or the unfiltered smile you offer to some stranger at the store. It may be your willingness to stop whatever it is you're doing to listen, or the way in which you allow your eyes to rest on another without judgment. You can't predict when you will be the catalyst for something wonderful to light up another human being, but there will be many such moments when your love and compassion are just what someone needs to feel understood and okay and inspired to feel seen.
What a beautiful cap to everything we've just
Yeah,
talked
thank you.
about.
Yeah, that was perfect for what you were just
Wow.
saying. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
You're tuned in, Jackie.
Wow.
Scott, you take a very complicated thing and make it very simple to practice. It doesn't make it easy, but it's a simple
Yeah.
practice that we can all incorporate into our lives. And I sure hope you'll come back, because I think
Yeah.
there is a lot more that we can discuss and share and inspire others to begin to get these thoughts and ideas instilled in their own thinking and their practice. So Scott, thank you so much for showing up
Thank you.
today, and especially with that big smile. Don't
Oh.
lose that. It's going to take you
No, it's been with me all my whole life now. But thank you both. Thank you both so much. I
Nice.
really
Oh
appreciate it.
man, this is a great show, don't you think,
Right.
Jackie? Any
Yeah, but we need to let him say how people get a hold of him.
Oh,
If there's anything
yeah.
going on you want to invite anybody to, we want to make sure
Thank
that
you
they
so
can reach
much.
you.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that. I mean, if you Google Scott Stabile, you'll find my website and Instagram and Facebook. And then I have an event, a really beautiful retreat in Bali in May of this year with my good friend David Gandelman. It's going to be meditation, breath work, and using writing to get honest with ourselves. And I can't recommend it enough. And then I'm going to be a part of a retreat in Sayulita, Mexico in February. And then also offer online breath work once a week. So join in on any of those things if you're able.
oh wow, is that done?
Excellent.
That's obviously done live.
It's done through Zoom. Yeah, it's live. Yeah.
Wow,
Nice.
wow.
Awesome.
We might have to check
Yeah.
that out.
Thank you,
Beautiful.
Thank
Scott.
you again,
Thank you.
Scott.
Thank you.
I wish
All
you the
right.
best and good luck with the books. And yeah, like I said, I hope you'll come back, because this was a great
Yeah,
show.
it'd
I
be
think
lovely. Yeah. Much love to you both.
yeah, that's about
Thank
all the
you.
time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. My biggest hope is that you'll tell a friend about the show. We have really cool guests. Oh, he jumped right off. Lastly, please, please, please make it a great day, because it is all about choice. Bye-bye for now.
Bye for now, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to Life Mastery Radio. Join Todd Allen and Jackie Bailey and their guests of leading authors, speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific. Learn to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery through stories and messages to support your well-being and most evocative dreams. Visit their website, www.lifemasteryradio.com. Join their mailing list and be notified about upcoming guests. That's lifemasteryradio.com.